My mate robbed 10 kilos of white from my dad and his Irish business partners. Is what happened. I'd just come out of jail, and for some fucked up reason, my dad and the firm thought it would be a good idea to now step the game up to white for some reason. And I wanted nothing to do with it. I'd just done my bird for the hash. I was out on bail. I wanted nothing to do with cocaine. Fuck that. This lad had now come on the scene, and we call him Danny for the sake of this video. And we all got quite close. And as it happened, he had now taken over packing it like what I was doing, but now they were doing it for coke. As I say, madness. This fella Danny was brought on the scene. He was from a place called Alcoy, which was about an hour inland from Benidorm. He was a couple of years older than me, he was. So at that time, I was 22. So he was about 24. So he was young, but he was drunk all the time. You know, even straight from the morning, he was like the Spanish. The Spanish are in their cafe and they're drinking 103, which is like whiskey in the mornings and shit. And they're pissed up by 6:30 in the morning. And so was he. Pissed people are always going to do crazy shit. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're like that when they're sober, you know. And that's what annoys me about people when they're drunk and they think they're hard after they've had a couple of drinks, but they ain't like that when they're sober. That annoys me. But this geezer was consistent. Even though I don't think I'd ever seen him sober, he did not give a fuck about anything and anyone. He had to get out of Alcoy because he was that wild, Danny was. The Gitanos, the Spanish gypsies, had stabbed the shit out of him all over his body. And he still wouldn't leave. So my dad and him had a mutual friend, and he was an old school crook. And his dad actually shot Frankie Fraser back in the day. So they were faces, you know. And he called me old man up on the behalf of Danny to get him out of Alcoy. Get him out of here before he's killed. So my dad ended up giving him a job. So now he's in there packing away. And this geezer is out of control, right? So he's doing this for a few months. At this time, he ended up moving into my house, my townhouse. My hands were off of this. I didn't want anything to do with it. I was going my legit route the best way I could. I was stepping away, as I say. I was on bail. I was on dodgy terms as it was. I had to sign in 3 times a fucking week at this stage, you know what I mean? The last thing I wanted to, you know, it already went tits up with the money in another story. This was €1 million, and I'd never seen €1 million in my life. Calls us and said, right, leave it in the boot and sit in the McDonald's and wait and watch. I looked at Jason, I was like, we're fucking dead. These are the people that you're going to get clipped straight away. Just lost them €1 million. It was all going tits up clearly, so I knew stepping up to bag cocaine, fuck that shit, wanted nothing to do with it anyway. So as it happens, they got my pal Danny doing it, yeah? But he wasn't brought on the scene through me, but we became quite close, all of us. And as I say, this fella didn't give a shit. He was just drunk 24/7. And to me, that's someone, they don't give a fuck. You can't control them, you can't work with them, simple. So I'll get a call one day, and it's from some top boys. And they said to me, 10 kilo of gear has gone missing, and I reckon it's your mate. And I was like, what? Hold on a minute. He ain't my fucking mate. I got introduced from him through my dad. But the thing is, they come straight to me. I was like, whoa. Fuck this. I don't know nothing about it. I don't want to know. I don't give a shit. It was nothing to do with me. I was like, right, keep my mouth shut, but I'm going to start trying to do some digging. The next thing you know, Danny's moved out and he's doing his own thing. He's actually seeing a bird back in Alcoy again. So he's travelling backwards and forwards. So I thought nothing of about this gear going missing. I didn't care. It was nothing to do with me. I didn't give a fuck. The less involvement or the less I knew about it, the better, as far as I was concerned. One day Danny come back into the house and he had a big bag of money. And it was all Scottish money. Sweaty money, we called it. And it was overflowing out the bag, man. And he had a load of white one with him, like a block. Alarm bells started raising in my head here. And he said, I've just bought a nightclub, right? And just think to yourself, this is a man that is drunk from 6 a.m. in the morning and doesn't give a fuck. He's got nothing to live for out here. He's got nobody, yeah? Even his mum one day, he phoned up his mum and the first thing she said was, "Oh, you're still alive." You know? This is the levels of this lad. So in my head, straight away, I knew he'd robbed them. When he was so drunk, he wasn't thinking. Or wasn't thinking that I knew anything. Or just didn't give a shit that I knew. That's what the impression kind of I had. He didn't give a shit. He was throwing it in my face a little bit, right? I said, "What's the bag of money for?" I go, "Surely you ain't earned that off of doing the white, packing it and driving it. Surely you ain't got yourself a deal to get that amount of money." And he goes, "Yeah." Right, okay, so there was too much money there, man. And all this money was going to this club he just about to purchase. But you don't purchase a club, you purchase like you rent it, a long-term rent in Spain. He had the money to pay it all. And this club was on the way between Javier and Denia on the M332, and it was an old swingers club. He literally put all that bag of money down on this nightclub and didn't think that I was going to even say anything. I didn't want to get involved in this, but it pissed me off a little bit, you know, because I knew he'd robbed them. I wouldn't like to think that this fella was this mad to do this, but he was constantly bagged up, pissed up. When you're like that, you do not care. You don't care. I'm keeping my mouth shut at this point. He has an opening night for his club. Me and a load of the boys went down there, and on the dance floor he had like these little tables set up what were about up to this sort of height. He had mounds of cocaine with straws on every one of these little pillars for everybody. It had a 20-man jacuzzi, because it was a swingers club, ex-swingers club. It had a bed in there, like it was like an orgy bed. It was massive. It was a proper swingers club. Disgusting. But in the back of my head, I'm like, there's only one way he's got this. So at this time, my dad was in England. So I got on the phone to him. "What happened with this gear going missing?" We collared Danny, and he's blaming it on the other firm. What happens is that they would bring it in to my dad's navvy. Danny would know about it. Other people would know about it. But their firm, who brought it in, also knows about it. So Danny automatically blamed this other firm, who were a Spanish firm. And I was like, "You know, he's just bought a nightclub, don't you?" And he was like, "What?" I said, "He has just bought a nightclub." "Fuck off, has he? How come he's got a rack sack of money, just bought a nightclub, and he's got an endless supply of cocaine then?" Don't miss out on part 2.